What's going on, you all? What's going on, y'all? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. I hope all is well. So, I wanted to do a quick video, and I'm sorry that I'm in my car, but I wanted to discuss what happened between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith at the game last night, in which LeBron James approached Stephen A. Smith due to Stephen A. Smith's comments and criticism towards Bronny James. Now, was LeBron wrong? Was Stephen A. Smith wrong? Let's get into what Stephen A. Well, let's first watch the video and look at what happened. Now we see that LeBron got in his face and seemed pretty upset. And from what we hear, from what I heard, he was upset because of what Stephen A. Smith says about his son, Bronny James, and the criticism of Bronny James. Now, again, who was wrong here? And I'm going to say LeBron. I'm going to say this. LeBron James is more wrong than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is more right in what he does and what he did than LeBron James. Now, what we have to understand is that there is a consequence, again, to our decisions, right? Now, LeBron James kind of forced his son into the NBA, right? He told people not to choose him. He made sure that he wanted to play with him and be on the same team as him and make history of father and son playing on the same team. But we see here that LeBron, well, his name is LeBron. LeBron James Jr. is not ready for the NBA. And I've been saying that since he was drafted. I don't think he's ready. Now, he was in a D League. He was doing great things. He was getting 26 points, a few assists. He was balling in the D League. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Bronny is a scrub and that he's not a good player. I'm not going to say that he's a scrub. But what I will say is that he is not ready for the NBA as of yet. However, I do understand why LeBron James wanted his son to be in the NBA now. Because I believe, for one, he wanted to make it happen, the father and son. And two, that cardiac arrest was a scare. It was a scare for the family. It was a scare for Bronny James. It was a scare for a lot of people. And he could have had on his mindset, hey, tomorrow is not promised. Let's do this now. So, but what LeBron James has to understand is that Stephen A. Smith has a job. Stephen A. Smith has been a journalist for over 3 decades. You know, he has been in this field. He has been pretty darn good at it. From what I see, he's been all over the news, you know, for years. You know what I'm saying? His face is probably the face of ESPN. I'm gonna say that right now. His face is probably one of the biggest faces on ESPN. His face is not only one of the biggest faces on ESPN, but in the sports world, period. And this is his job. His job is to speak on sports, speak on the players, speak on what's happening, critique, give criticism, and give praise where he sees fit. But for LeBron James to be upset because Stephen A. Smith is speaking about his son and his criticisms, and with LeBron saying that Bronny is better than half of the team, you know, Stephen A. Smith is right. He's putting a lot of pressure on him. And let's get into what Stephen A. Smith said, his reaction to the reaction of the conversation last night.
That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly, I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. By all accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son. And based on some of the comments that he had heard, or shall I say, I think he thought he heard, he clearly took exception to some of the things that he heard me say, and he confronted me about it. And he walked right up to me and he said what he had to say. And apparently he feels like I was slighting his son. Now let me tell you what I feel. What I would have said if we were in a different environment, because I was not going to engage in a confrontation at that particular moment in that setting. But if we had had that conversation, I would have said to LeBron James, I never would speak negatively about your son. I was talking about you, meaning you, LeBron James. I have nothing but the best wishes for Bronny James. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that he flourishes into an NBA star. Usually in other sports, we see all stars, and on occasion we'll see their children become stars as well. That doesn't really happen with the NBA. I sincerely hope he's the exception. By all accounts, he's a wonderful kid. And I don't know anybody who roots against him, and it certainly isn't me. But in the same breath, at the time that we were talking about him, he was percolating to such a degree that the Bronny James stories had gone viral. And so we had to talk about it. And when I said the things that I said, I wasn't talking about Bronny James because my attitude is he's a rookie. It's going to take some time for him to get himself together. He'll be just fine, especially with J.J. Redick and the staff coaching him. I was talking about the position that he was put in by his dad, because LeBron James has been on the record and he has said, and I'll read the quote here. There was a quote that he gave in February of 2024. The work and results will ultimately do talking, no matter what the size. If y'all don't know, he doesn't care what mock drafts say. He just works, earned, not given, etc., etc. But he also had said that his son could play on the Lakers right now, and he was better than half the dudes in the NBA. In the aftermath of all of that, he instructed everybody before the draft that y'all want me, draft Bronny. Wherever Bronny is at, that's where I'll be. I'll do whatever it takes to play with my son for a year. It's not about the money at that point. My point months ago was that because of who you are, one of the top 2 players in the history of basketball, in my estimation, there's an immense amount of pressure that comes with that for his son. And when he talked like that and what have you, anything that goes awry as it pertains to his son, there's going to be a microscopic eye, even more intensified, on Bronny James. I was raised as a journalist. Let's be very, very clear about what that means. I'm not one of those that get into people's private affairs. But what you do on a public platform for public consumption, that's what I cover. That's what I do for a living. And if you're in the NBA, that applies to you. I don't want enemies. I live a very good life. I like to make people laugh and smile and have a good time and all of that other stuff. But I also get paid to call it like I see it. And what I said at the time, I stand by what I said. It wasn't even any reporting. The facts were out there. And what I was saying about LeBron is fact-based because of what he said and the things that he said leading up to his son getting drafted and ultimately being in the NBA on the same team as him, as opposed to being a Boston Celtic or a Golden State Warrior.
LeBron James was acting like a father. He was, most definitely. But, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what you have to understand is you put your son out there. You encouraged him to get into the draft. You encouraged him to be out there in the world. You encouraged him to show his talent on the biggest stage of basketball, the NBA. So he is open for critique. He is now a person who can be critiqued on his NBA skill because he is in the NBA. There's nothing wrong with what Stephen A. Smith did. I see more of an issue with what LeBron did than Stephen A. Smith. So just like Stephen A. Smith says, he has to make a living. He's not here to make friends. He's not here to have everyone love him. He's here to do his job. And let me tell you something, he's pretty darn good at it. You know? And we have to just respect his grind, respect his craft, respect his talent that he has. Right? And LeBron, he respects Stephen A. Smith, even though Stephen A. Smith said that they're not really close and they don't talk to each other, but they respect each other. Even LeBron respects Stephen A. Smith, and that's why he's upset, because he knows that people are going to listen to him because his words holds weight and his opinion holds weight. But LeBron, you have to understand that you were a supporter and putting your son in this position to be critiqued by some of the best. And this should only motivate him when he is critiqued. Don't protect him so much. Yes, protect him from safety, but don't protect him from the thing that's going to make him stronger and better, and that's criticism. Let's go to Proverbs 15:31, and it says, "If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise. If you reject discipline, you only harm yourself, but if you listen to correction, you grow in understanding." Now, LeBron James, we know that we want to protect our sons and daughters, but when there is time for growth, there needs to be growth. If you're doing something out of your own interests, at least warn your son, or at least prepare him for what is to come. And when it does come, don't try to shield him from it if it can help him grow. You don't want to protect your son so much that he can't grow and he can't learn from the trials and tribulations, right? So that's all I want to say. And again, I do not think that Stephen A. Smith is wrong. He's just doing his job, and that's something that LeBron James has to realize. What are your thoughts on this? Was LeBron right? Was he wrong? Was Stephen A. right? Or was he wrong? God bless you all. Be safe.